Hi, this is Steve Luongo, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Steve, you're laughing. Steve, you're laughing, but I've done it before. Rena will tell you. How are you?
Good. How are you? How are you both?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Nice to see you. I have
Did
gone.
you just ask him how his balls are?
That's what I thought it sounded like.
What?
I love that this went off rails immediately, but Steve, it totally sounded like you said, "How are you? How are your balls?"
Oh, that's what I said.
Right. I'm
I said,
sorry.
"How are you?" That's very funny. I said, "How are you? How are you both?"
Yeah.
Balls.
But I'll take balls. Balls works for me.
If you want me to answer honestly, Steve, they're fine.
Great. Now, is that them as in the two people on the call, or them as in?
Yes. Can I answer yes?
Perfect. You did, and that's fine.
And to answer your question, I'm still waiting for mine to drop. But yeah.
Well, it sounds like that might be close at hand.
Steve, are you ready? Are you ready to hang up on us now?
No, man. This is the most fun I've had all day. Are you kidding? You guys are great.
Sorry, we like to keep things a little bit fun.
That's, I think that's tattooed on me somehow.
Oh, good.
There's way too much gloom. In fact, I do a stream myself, and we do it from the No Gloom Ballroom. So believe me, I'm with you. I love the humor. There's just not enough of it these days, so we have to do our bit.
I 100% agree. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I'm Bruce. There's my partner, Rena.
Rena, Bruce, how are your balls?
There's going to be a theme through the whole thing. Huh?
I'm just going to start every new sort of encounter that I have with people that I've never met with this, and just going to be like, but this is what Steve says. So,
Nice.
I'm all about starting a trend, so let's have at it, kids.
Amazing. But how's your day been, Steve?
It's been great. Some dog walking, some breakfast, dog playing.
What kind of dog?
An incredible dog. He's a Catahoula Leopard Dog.
Oh, nice.
And he's a rescue.
What?
We had a Catahoula, right? Like the dance, kind of. Leopard Dog.
I've seen pictures of him before.
He's the state dog. You know what? I'll show you. He's kind of big. He's the state dog of Louisiana. I don't know that you're going to be able to see his
State
picture,
dog of Louisiana.
Yes.
I thought I was like, oh my God, you're adorable.
Oh, he's cute.
Oh, that's amazing. I am so dog deprived. You have no idea.
Dogs rule our world.
Yes.
We live in Florida. Lori and I live in Florida because of a dog. We moved here because we had a wolfhound mix, Cody, who needed hydrotherapy because big dogs are not supposed to live that long. He was 14 and didn't show any signs of letting up, but he couldn't really maneuver. And we lived on the side of a mountain. So we said, you know what? Let's buy Florida.
Good for you.
Loved it. watch. No kids, so yay. And dog, dog is the best. I wanted to get when we rescued him. I wanted his brother too, but someone had already put a claim in on him. But they were just they're beautiful dogs, and I'm lucky to have them.
Tell me again. You said that he's a rescue. Where did you guys get? Is it like, obviously in the States, you guys have a lot of strays and you can just go to a shelter. I'm in Finland. So here it's quite different. You can't just walk up to a shelter and get a rescue dog. You basically get rescue dogs from Spain or Latvia or like wherever that has a street dog issue, but not here because they're going to die of the cold.
That's not these. This particular group that we got him from is a Catahoula rescue group. So they, I guess, find litters that are unwanted. The last one that we got years and years ago was rescued as a puppy from a hurricane. So it's rescue groups here, and I guess you have to be ASPCA. I don't know if that's universal throughout every state, so it might be different like it is there. But here, there's a real population problem, and we really need to, do our bit. So we don't go for it's nothing wrong with boutique dogs. It's just, we got a great one and love them to death, and rescued them from something not quite as sweet. So they're
right. Adopt, don't shop, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All of mine are rescues too. This is my 5th Great Dane, and they've all been rescues as well. So
that's great. What do you go to a Great Dane rescue group?
I live in Virginia, and there's a lady who's about 2 hours from me. She has about 100 acres, and she gets them from all over the country. Out of shelters, kill shelters, or this one was found in a dumpster at 6 months old. So she finds them everywhere, and then she kind of rehabs them, gets them their licenses and their rabies shots, and then finds homes for them. And I've been going there since as long as I can remember, 20 years now. I just get Great Danes from her. So
that's fantastic, man. I mean, that's the good stuff. That's what we want to hear. Is, people doing their bit. There's a lot of animal consciousness down here where I am, and a lot of animals, so there's a lot of accommodation for you. Can't go to a drive up down here without them offering your dog a treat. It's pretty cool. Even paying a toll to go over the bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so we didn't come here to talk about dogs. I'm glad we did, but I don't want to eat up your time. So,
yeah, believe me, I have time, and let's not compromise why we're here. So,
correct. So let's talk about.
I'm going to just interrupt there and say that it's not like this show ever. It could be about tattooing penises. It could be about dogs. Like, you never know.
We have had those conversations, right?
Music.
You know what? People are people too, And the nice thing, I do I do a stream, and it's supposed to be an hour, but I do it with my friends that I haven't seen in 30 years, and so it's like, hey man, what do you? It's all biz,
right?
People in the biz, and about 8 o'clock, my wife starts waving the flag. Dinner soon. Dinner. It's like, dinner's getting cold. She's got all the flags,
I will tell you, Steve, we have gone down so many rabbit holes, and I have learned so many things I don't think I've ever wanted to hear on this show when we talk to people. So it's quite interesting.
Well, good. No, listen, it's about getting to know your subject, and
yes,
it's really about the fun. I enjoy this whole medium. I'm very grateful that we can even do this, here in the 21st century. It's amazing how resilient we are, the entertainment community, and how inventive we are in the end. We'll find a way.
Yes.
And if you want to segue right into it, like Entwistle said, he would play at the opening of an envelope if there was somebody there.
That's great. That's great. How did this Oxhumed come about? I know you worked with his son, right, Chris? Is that what I read?
Yeah, well, to put it in the right perspective, John and I, we've been musical partners, business partners, or had been for 15 years. And over that time, we accumulated a pretty good catalog of demos or song ideas, and we trade them back and forth. I'd send him mine. And so I had a lot of that stuff. I have everything that you hear on this record and volume 2. What did that sound like, Rena? Volume 2.
Volume
So when Chris Entwistle is the only one, direct descendant in the family, certainly the only one that represents the estate. Chris and I have been the best of friends since he was 16 years old. I've known him now, obviously, longer than I've known John. But, I have pretty much the blessing of the estate to pursue whatever it is I want to pursue, as long as obviously I do it, to some pretty exacting specs or qualifications. So when the opportunity, it had been 20 years, I've been being asked by fans, you guys, do you have anything that you didn't release? Is there any new stuff? And I couldn't even, for the first several years, couldn't even think about that. And then life goes on. You do this project, you do that project, and then you find yourself here in this, pandemic world, which affected or affects the entertainment industry on every level, affects us all. But so I had made a connection with Deco Entertainment, who a lot of my friends are signed to that label, and it's a real label, like back in the 70s when they were real labels, and they have a great PR team, and they're distributed by Warner Brothers. And so I said, well, maybe now's the time. So I rang up Chris and I said, listen, I have a deal pending to do a Rarities album. Do you have any idea what we should call it? And without missing a beat, he went Oxhumed, right? I mean, the ox, exhumed. So I figured, well, that's a sign.
Right.
And so I went ahead and I named the project, and I named the record, and then we started in on it. And for me, the hardest part was deciding, I want volume 2 to be as good as volume 1 or better. And that's always the goal. So for me, it was I started off by finding 2 volumes worth of material at a minimum, and then figuring which of this would I save and which of it would I use. So there are 8 studio tracks on volume 1, 2 absolute demos, and 3 live tracks. And it seemed like a good blend, because I know nobody's heard the live tracks. I'm relatively sure no one's heard the 2 demos. The 8 songs that are on there are alternate versions or remixes or remasters. So I wanted, how did it come about? It came about because the fans wanted to hear more John, and I had it. So you got to share.
How emotional was it revisiting those tunes from way back?
Well, the studio, the worst part of it was when we were remastering the 2 demos of the songs that John and I wrote for possible inclusion on a Who record. And there's quite a few of them, actually, but these are the 2 that I thought John would have wanted people to hear. And, I don't listen to those. They're demos, so they're never recorded to be released. They're recorded to be an example to someone of, you could do this song better than we did it.
Right.
That's the idea. You don't want to intimidate anybody or cement anybody's ideas. So listening to those was hard, because I remember, I guess we wrote them a year or so before John passed. And no, actually, it would have been less than a year that he passed. But when I listened to those and I realized what potential there was in there, potential for what it was that John was looking to do, what I was looking to do. And if we weren't, if it didn't get used by the Who, there were certainly great songs for us to play in our band. And either way, that would have been great. So that was a little emotional, because it's kind of like a stillborn kid, you know, it's like it's
Right.
there and you see, oh my God, this could have been amazing. So that was tough, but at the same time, realizing fans are going to hear John's thought process, that outweighed everything. The really worst part of the whole thing, and it's been a long time, so I don't want to sound like a suffering friend or
Right.
it's tough, but the worst part of it was having to go through all the live shows because we have piles and we recorded every show. So I've got hundreds of tapes and there are at least 10s and 20s and 80s and so listening to those for performances was the first thing. That wasn't so bad. Listening, because you listen till you hear something that you wouldn't want to put on the record, and then you go to the next one, and so on and so forth. But you're listening to the same 30 songs or so, give or take, over a period of time. And then when you find one, like in the case of Shaking All Over on this particular record, and you say, okay, this is great. It's got all the stuff I want to do in there. And there's some really tricky little things in that song, in that version, that we didn't do the other time. I'll tell you the quick story. You guys heard the record? Yeah, have you heard that track?
Yes.
Okay. In the beginning, there's a guitar solo. We never did a guitar solo in the front of that song, but we're in New York. It's a guitar player's kind of home turf. We said, let him go. And he opens up the song and he's doing this whole, his thing, and it's a great solo, and his fans are, the fans are loving it. And John comes over to the side of my kid and does this. So, raises his eyebrows like, have you had enough? So I said, yeah, I've had enough. This is visually. And so I start rumbling on the floor, Tom, and he starts rumbling on the bass, which is what you hear that build up, right? It sounds like we've done that 1,000 times. We never did that before or since. We did it to get him to stop playing.
That's great. That's great. You'd never know that, but it's great.
So it was either that or you just would have unplugged him, just like.
Well, that's true. I mean, John used to say, he was asked about the band. He would say, well, it's bass and drums and some other guys. But yeah, so that's so anyway, back to the hard part. The hard part was when I finally decided, okay, this is a track that's in contention. Then I bring it into my control room and I crank it, because you really, if it's not loud, you're not really hearing everything. And that's when I feel the muscles and the nerves and shoulders and my back start to, I know what's coming, and I'm kind of physically setting up to play it.
Right.
That's when it gets tough, because you want to just drop in and be there and do that, and you can't. You'll never do that again.
Right.
So that's tough. That's a tough reality. But outside of that, it was fun, actually, to do it, because I knew that I was doing something that we both would have been proud of. I know that I'm doing something that the fans will embrace, and that's all that matters. Look, if we were to happen to get a song in a movie or some kind of some kind of other reward for doing it, that'd be great. But really, the main thing is that the people that still want to hear John, and the new people that maybe haven't heard complete John,
right,
this is them.
Sure. Rena?
No, that's a really touching story, and because that we sort of form these really deep memory and environmental connections. And I'm using the word environmental here because it could be a smell, it could be like a season, it could be a song. And I think the songs are like the deepest ones of these. I don't know if you guys can relate, but I have like some albums that are great albums, but I can't listen to them because they're so connected to like a shitty time in my life that they will just bring back that deep emotion.
I can relate to that. Thankfully, not from any of my own material, but when there was I was in a pretty successful band that did half originals and half covers, but everybody wanted to hear the Led Zeppelin and the Jethro Tull, and so it was hard to break out of that. And now when I hear those songs, it's like, I don't want, no, please. Although when Ian Anderson sings it, it's a little bit easier to listen to, but I know exactly what you mean. Because it's association is what it is. It's
right.
Physical, mental or whatever other sensual association. I get that. That's the great thing about music. It's powerful and it imprints itself on you. Probably many.
It can take you right back, man. And just like Rena said, I drop a needle on a record, and all of a sudden I'm back in high school, like listening to it for the first time.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I played for many years with Leslie West, and when I was a kid, in the '60s, getting ready for school, I used to put on headphones and air guitar my way around my room, listening to "Never in My Life."
Right.
And when I actually decades later got to play with Leslie, and we opened with that song every night, it was like surreal. So yeah, I mean, it's an extreme version of it, but yeah, I listen to "Never in My Life" now, and I get that same thrill.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite songs, and yeah, it's music.
How hard was it to select obviously there's only a limited amount of songs that could fit on these volumes. How hard was it to select those, at least for the first two?
Well, what I really wanted to do in the first one was we did a demo back in the '90s because we really wanted to get a proper record deal for the band, for the John Entwistle band. And we recorded 4 songs: "Endless Vacation," "I Wouldn't Sleep with You," "Left for Dead," and I think there was one other. And you have the versions, or the versions that are on the record. I don't think "Endless Vacation" is on there, but "Left for Dead" is. And those are not the versions we were able to use, because instead of getting a traditional record deal, we got offered a television show. Okay, no problem. Like
right.
Royalties, love mailbox money. But it was a kid's show. So there's no "I Wouldn't Sleep with You." We're not talking.
Actually, that should be a given.
Left for Dead there's a lot of, everybody dies in that song. If you listen to the lyrics, right? The spy dies, the cowboy dies, the husband dies. And there can be no death. There can be no gloom. There's no weapons. And if you listen, especially in "Left for Dead," it's so obvious that we couldn't use any of that stuff. So the fun part was they liked the sound and they liked the song, but they couldn't get next to the lyrics. So we had to go and rewrite the lyrics for the television show. So meanwhile, we have all these other versions that no one's ever going to hear. So that part of it was easy, because the "Left for Dead," that song in particular speaks to so many parts of John, his sense of humor, because he used to love, the reason we even had the name "Left for Dead," that was the name of our first tour, because we were on the phone in the '90s, in the middle of the '90s, looking for what we were going to do next, and what did you want to do? And I said, we'll put a band together. And he said, yeah, good idea. And he said, I don't want to use the spider, because he was known for Boris the Spider. He said, but I did draw this buzzard, which maybe you've seen working somewhere on the album art. And I said, okay, that's great. We're Left for Dead. We both left for dead from our bands. Why not have a buzzard up in the tree waiting to strip our bones? Let's go. And it became a kind of morbid, half funny theme throughout all our work. So "Left for Dead," the song, it's 3 versions of 3 people being left for dead, right? The spy, and then after the spy, I'm sure you noticed a little bit of the James Bond theme in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cowboy who sleeps with the sheriff's wife, can't have that on a Saturday morning.
Right.
And the band deals give him, he's left for dead. So then you hear the Magnificent Seven. And then in John's verse, which is the anniversary verse, the bitch, she poisoned me. That's not going to fly either, right? And so what do we do? What do we run out of that song? And that's where we decided, well, let's just play My Wife, which is what we did. We did the run out to My Wife at the end of the romantic verse,
Right.
or whatever. And that was another thing. We were having so much fun playing it. On the record, it just fades right out like a regular, English fade or American fade. But we were just playing crazy. It was such in the spirit of the band, jamming and just having fun. I let it run to the end. And you can't really do that in any other medium but this.
Right.
So why not let people hear the guy play? That's why they came to the circus.
But hey, what I wanted to ask was, you mentioned your stream now a couple of times. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, well, this is where I do it here from space. And basically what it is what you remember when the pandemic whole thing started, everybody canceled everything. There was just playing anywhere. Everything was locked down. And all of my friends started doing live streams, playing, taking requests or,
Right.
They were doing this with lots of people watching, and they'd take requests and do different things and play songs. And sometimes it was more than. So a friend said, you should really do a show, it would be a lot of fun, because you can tell I'm very shy, and interfere very well. So I thought, okay, but if I'm going to do it, I'm always about the road less traveled, try do something new. I think that's one of the reasons John and I got along so well, is because we weren't interested in doing something again. We wanted to do something new for the first time. So I said, well, what show can I possibly do night after night that will be engaging for people? And I had a friend that, you all have those friends that come on the road with you for a week or two, and they get to see the whole thing. And you kind of get a perspective because they're civilians, and then they hear all the chatter in the dressing room or the bus or whatever. And so it occurred to me that maybe people would like to hear that conversation like this. That's what we're doing here. This is basically my show, but I do it just with one person at a time. So my phone book is insane. I can get to anybody with one or two phone calls. But what's it like if you call up Steve Stevens after 30 years and say, "Hey man, how you doing?" Hey Steve, what do you want? So, but if I met that person on the road in the lobby of a hotel, on a bus, in a green room, a dressing room, be a much different thing. So I got a showrunner, a guy named Angus Deckern, who's also a bass player. And I gave him the email contact details for everybody in my phone book. And he called, sent him a message, said, Steve's doing this. And it's just guys coming on the show. And I do not talk to them until they log, just like this. And so we're not meeting, but reacquainting for the first time. It's, hey man, and you go through that whole first half hour of what, like we just did.
Do you ask them how their balls are?
Every time. It's actually, in the waiting room, it says, how are your balls? No.
How do you balls deal with the lack of gravity in space?
I feel like a theme coming on here, And
oh, totally.
I know there's a T-shirt.
Yes, but I'm gonna pursue royalties. Right, I'm gonna pursue royalties if it's used on your show, though, right?
Absolutely.
For sure. And I think we should start a spin-off show, How's Your Balls? And it's just...
Yeah, that's good. Some people would watch at least once.
I know a bunch of people who would watch reruns. We're good.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I don't even remember where I was. What are we talking about?
You were
talking about that stream of yours, and that's like really interesting.
Oh,
so
nice.
Where are you? Is it like, so you're doing it like we are? So it's available everywhere, basically.
Yeah, you can find it. Yeah, if you go to Facebook, it's Facebook.com/Drum Crusher. If you let's see, on Twitter, it's @Drum Crusher. On we don't do it on Instagram. On Twitch, it's just Steve Luongo. On Facebook, you can find it Steve Luongo. YouTube, you can find it Steve Luongo. It's pretty easy to find, and I've been doing it for almost 3 years.
Nice.
And I've talked to so many of my friends and met so many new people. It's been the most refreshing part of this third act of my career because I've reconnected with people. I did a thing. In fact, there's a new friend that I had on the show named Big Swede. He's a huge DJ remix guy. And I was doing a thing in the beginning of the show called Pass the Peas, which is not the Maceo Parker record, but it's just a thing. I have a studio in my house. Thank you. And so I'll go in and lay a drum track down and send it to a bass player. And he can play whatever he wants to it, and he can send it to a guitar player. But it's kind of like playing telephone, only with a drum track and then a bass and drum track. And it's the closest. We love to jam. I love to just play freeform music and just see where it goes. This is as close as I could get to it. And so sometimes the track will come back around and it'll be so good that I'll replay the drums to what everybody else was playing, and it's just so Big Swede, I'm working on a track for him, and that's just, it's incredible. Steve Stevens did a track, and
nice.
So we get inventive, and so the show is what spawned all that. Big Swede was guest. I didn't know him. I knew who he was, obviously, from his IMDb. And we were introduced by a publicist. He came on the show. We just talked about, hey, man, what are you doing? I get asked as many questions as I ask because it's a proper conversation. So it's 7 to 8. That's when the dinner flag goes. And it's funny because I know I don't really watch a clock, although I try to, I have a lot of fans that like to be done and go watch PBS or something at 8 o'clock. But I can.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I actually do like another podcast on something completely different, which is mental health, and this is in Finnish, and it's a Finnish concept. But it's like a constant thing that we aim for 1 hour episodes, and then around 1.5 hours we go like, all right, time to start wrapping this up, and then 30 minutes later, at 2 hour mark, it's done. But it's like when you get people talking about stuff that they actually care about, and you get people to sort of open up on stuff that they maybe don't have the forum or have the adequate mirror to bounce things off of, and then you get them to that situation. I think it's super fruitful to just let the conversation flow, let the music flow as you do. You're not going to be checking your watch when you're jamming away. It's over when it's over, right?
Well, right. I mean, unfortunately, there are time constraints, whether it's the 40-minute, Zoom rule or whatever. But yeah, especially a forum situation. I mean, I used to try to end my show, which is called Rock and Roll Show and Tell. I had a friend that I came up in primary school with who said I always brought drumsticks or something to show and tell. And I figured, there you go, we'll call it Rock and Roll Show and Tell. But I always try to I try to make it interesting, and the fact that you have a forum, especially mental health, the weirdest part of it is it goes hand in hand with what I do, because there is it's such a painful world right now, and people need that connection. And I'm very lucky because a lot of my friends have been in isolation, and that's the worst thing in the world for a peacock. You have to be out there doing what you do, and it's like your mission. If you're a lifer, like many of us are, you can't. It's not like, okay, well, I'll start, writing a movie or something. It's it's just you have to do what you do. But I understand totally about trying to shut it down. When I first did my show, have you seen the Actors Studio, with James?
Yeah.
Okay. He always does the questionnaire at the end, right?
Yeah.
Favorite curse word, what smell, or whatever it is, sound you love the most. So I said, well, that'd be a good way to end it, right? Because why not? You ask somebody, and my thing was, where's your favorite restaurant on the road? What's your absolute favorite song to play live? Least favorite song to play live? If you could play any other instrument other than the one you play, what would it be? And if you could play one performance with any musician or group of musicians, live or dead, who would it be? Well, you ask somebody that question, you're on for another half hour.
Right.
Start asking the questions at the beginning of the show. But we try to reel it in.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, but that's how I met Rena. She was a guest on the show, 3 years ago, Rena?
2.5, something like that.
And we had the best time.
Album.
That's great. Believe me, that's fantastic. That's the power of our industry. That's the power of technology when it's used in the right way. Bravo.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's the power of love.
Yes.
Love
you, Rena.
Yeah, I love you too, Bruce. Mr. Soda Can.
Hey,
No, but it truly is.
No.
I love your balls, Bruce. That's my favorite part of you. Is your balls. For sure.
I have it on tape. Steve Luongo loves my balls.
Is my laughter.
Yes.
Sorry, I was just saying.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. I don't have anything else. Reno, you got anything else?
Well, if we may ask one of your questions, bounce one of those bad boys right back at you, what would be the favorite song for you to play?
Wow. Live?
Live.
It's oddly enough, it would be a cover song. It would be, when I was in Rat Race Choir, we used to do Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull in its entirety. So that would have to be certainly way up there because it's got every kind of drumming in it that I could ever want to do in one song. So it satisfies so much of my needs because Barrymore Barlow, who was the drummer on that particular record, is such a brilliant player and weaves jazz and rock and roll. So it would either be that. I'm trying to think if it would be, Shake All Over was pretty fun to play. So one of those.
Nice.
Good answers. Good answers.
Thank you.
Yes.
So guys, listen, when you finally do edit, you know what? Hang on a second. You deserve this. I'm gonna put my mic
we're gonna get something special, I know it.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming right now. In the jungle, the lions sleep tonight. In the jungle, the lions sleep tonight.
That was brilliant. I'd applaud if I wasn't holding a cell phone.
You're a very good boy.
God.
Very good boy. Yeah, I figured, we had to have a performance, right?
That was brilliant. That was actually that made my year.
That makes my year. That's great. Listen, life is a joy, kids. We're lucky that we get to live it the way we do. We're lucky that we get to do what we do and interface with each other. And for me, it was a pleasure hanging with you guys. If there's anything else that you want or need, just, reach out to me and we'll get it done.
Thank you, Steve. You clearly are absolutely class A, grade A person, human.
Thanks.
Humanoid, whatever we want to call each other in space.
I'll take it anyway. Bruce, you're muted. I can't hear all the wonderful things that you're saying.
I just said I appreciate it. My sentiments are exactly the same, man. It was a great chat. I appreciate you taking the time. Man, that was a great chat. I don't even want to call it an interview. It was just a chat, and it was a blast.
That's what it should be, man. And it was a blast for me as well. And I'm happy to follow up with you anytime.
Absolutely. We'll have you back. I'll hit you up again because I'd love to chat some more.
Hey, man, like I said, anytime. And we'll have to get you on my show because it's the same thing. I'm just over there.
Exactly. And depending on what account you use, I'm usually also in space, not in San Francisco.
I have, because I do this show, I have, different, I can do, let's see, I can do this. No, I can't do that. I have different backgrounds, like the album cover,
Nice.
From Oxhumed.
Oh, yeah.
It's, Okay. Who fans will know this artifact right here? Does that ring a bell to anybody?
Not me, but
did you ever see the film The Kids Are All Right?
Oh yeah, years ago, like in a midnight movie when I was in high school. Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall John Entwistle smashing his gold records and taking them out to the archery lawn?
Yes.
Well, that's why the gold record has bullet holes in it.
Nice.
You remember, he couldn't hit it with a shotgun, so he pulled out a Thompson submachine gun and blasted it with that.
Nice.
Hence the gold record. And I hid all kinds of stuff in here. I just had such fun doing it. That, hiding things like that. There's all kinds of craziness in here. Some of his favorite things that people knew, Winston 100s and so on, but a lot of other things that maybe they don't. So, like I said, I did this one for the fans, and, I hope everybody enjoys it.
I have absolutely had a pleasure chatting with you, my friend. Thank you so much.
And we'll do this again, and you have a lovely day, I think.
Yes, day. A lovely time.
Absolutely. Be well, my friend.
Take care.
See you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hello out there. Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hyden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.